Hey, Space Engineers! Today we're building the Megxcavator. Down and dirty. Let's go. Now, due to the size of this thing, you're going to need a pretty substantial build space. I just recommend making an arch like this, and you're going to need at least 10 blocks of clearance between that and the ground. Now, to start off, we're going to get a large storage container, and we're going to snap it centered on our disposable block here. Just like that. Next, curved conveyor tube to the cockpit. I like to use that one. Then the curved reinforced conveyor tubes on each side, pointing forward towards the cockpit. And a rotor on the bottom. Now to make the subgrid, I use the blast door blocks on the original build, but you could use heavy armor or whatever you would prefer. It just has to be able to take some beating. So we make a 3 wide with the blast door blocks. Remember that there's the vertical sides that you could snap to, but these narrow sides you cannot snap to. So if you do blast door blocks, I make 3, then turn them horizontally for 3 more. So it should look something like that. Now at the rear of our H, I make a bumper. And now to add in the battery and the remote control block. Now you could move these batteries up onto the top grid to help preserve them. And the remote control, you want to have the eye facing towards the front. We're at the rear right now. So just like that, arrows pointing forward and up. Back to the front, we want to go to our hinges. Snap our hinge on. I put the minus sides down. Then to our logistics. Reinforce conveyor tube straight. Make 4. Just like so. Into the drills. I really like these new style drills for this. Into the 5 drills. So it should be looking like that now. And now back to the other rotor. So that won't actually be connected yet. We need to snap the other part of the hinge on there against this. So it actually is not connected. And here is the tricky part. You want to find your initial one and name that the primary. And your second one, we now have the attach option, but first we want to zero out the amount of torque that this thing has. We want no torque on that. That's just gonna free move. And now when we hit attach, it won't fight with us. It won't fight with the other hinge. So now this one is attached. This one's the primary. And that completes the arms. Now back to the rear, we're going to start off with a H2O2 generator. And you need to orient it just like this, having that conveyor port up and down on that side. And then to power the hydrogen engine, snaps to the bottom of it like that. And then we need two sorters facing out. So, sorter 1 and sorter 2 facing out. Into an elbow down. And a big connector like that. You want to make sure that the top part is connected to the top of that tube and the back is connected to that. Now we need to go in here, set this sorter to, we'll name this one the ore, and we want to blacklist the top will be ores, or whitelist ores, excuse me. But we're going to add those and make sure those are whitelisted, so only the ores will pass through those. And we want to turn that off for right now. And then this second sorter, we are going to name the stone for organization purposes. Have that set to drain all, whitelist, stone. Add that. Now, with those being set up, to our connector. Can use them for parking, but we want to have it set to throw out. Alright, starting at the rear on the left side, we want to go into our storage containers. Because this is not attached to conveyance on the grid, you could really put any storage container. This is where the repair parts box. I've started using these stacked barrels. I think they look kind of neat. And then we want to go to the turret controller. Oh, as in weapons. Turret controller there. And now we need to go into ore detector. Now on the rear right side, we are going to add in the event controller. And the antenna. I just added this small antenna here. And that completes the rear. Now at the bottom left sub on the subgrid, we are going to start with the 2x2 wheels, left sides. Snap one on the front, one on the back here. I originally had 3 of the 1x put in here just to support an additional weight. You could just run another 2x or however you want to build that. And then mirror that on the other side with the right side's wheels. Now to set up the custom turret controller in this, we are going to go down, and for our azimuth we are setting our rotor, and for the elevation we want the primary hinge, the one that has the torque to power. No camera control assigned, and we want to assign the drills to the weapon, and down near the bottom we want to do disable this target locking, and that will allow you to use the left trigger just to remove stuff and not gather it. Alright, to set up the event controller, we want to go to connector connected, add the connector. I've already named these Megx. Then to the select actions, we want to have it, when connected, turn on the ore sorter to push the ore out, and when it disconnects, turn on the stone sorter. Now if we trigger down, we want it, when it connects, to turn off the stone sorter, and when it disconnects, turn off the ore sorter. And if you're on console, you can trigger between these, and you can set up all these actions. It watches that one block, it will do all of them. Depending on if it's connected, it does all the first slots, and when it disconnects, it does the second slots. You can set up, I believe, like 9 or 10 of them. Another thing you could do is, if you have hydrogen fuel, to refuel it on your ore trucks, you can have it set to stockpile your hydrogen tanks, so it pulls hydrogen off the ore truck, refuels this, and pushes the ore into the truck at the same time. Now, we're inside of the cockpit, and we have to set up the magical driving abilities of this. So inside the cockpit, you want to shut off the thrusters, the gyro control. You can keep the horizontal line, that kind of helps because it is sometimes hard to tell what kind of incline you're on. Disable target locking, and then we're going to exit out, assign, with holding D-pad up, first the remote control, and the option we want for that is to use control. So now that we're in that, when we hit D-pad up, now we're in the remote control. Now inside of the remote control, you want to then hold D-pad up again, go into your, assign your custom turret controller, and go all the way down to control on that too. Another thing I would want to mention is, I don't remember if I covered it or not, but you want to turn drain all on your sorters, your ore sorter and your stone sorter. It looks like I did there. The connector you want to have throw out on, and I think I might have clicked collect all on, but you want to have collect all shut off, because the sorters are going to be pushing stuff into that, and it will fight when you dock with it. If you have collect all on, it will try to pull stuff back out of the ore truck you're docking to it. Now that that is done, we can disconnect it from the building crane, and it should be functional. Activate the control block and the custom turret controller. Now we're gonna have to invert the custom turret controller. If you have that situation, go to custom turret controller, and for the elevation multiplier, we want to make that a negative, and you can adjust how fast it will turn by manipulating these numbers. So now in the custom turret controller, we have, when it hits up, it goes up, down it goes down. We can spin it. Everything is working as it should be. Alright, for setting up the wheels on this thing, I have grouped them all and set the fronts and rears to do the propulsion, and the steering, the middle ones, no steering and propulsion. So the next thing you want to set up steering angle 25 degrees, Full power is good, and the height offset you can play with, and the strength you want to increase a lot. You can also play with the strength on how much, depending on how much weight is in it. Friction, it's good to have a lot of friction on it. And speed limit, you could set that to something that's not too crazy. And that should set up those. And for the mids, we want to disable propulsion. We do want braking though on it, and parking brake just to help it out. I do like to keep the strength on the mids kind of up. So you don't want to have too much friction on these. You don't want them binding with the other wheels. So now we got a remote. And you could use different size tires on this thing too, or wheels. It's a little bit heavier on the front. So the front offsets we could push up. To a little bit higher. There we go. Clean it right up. So just a quick recap. Make sure you have on all of the control objects disable the locking, and that will enable you to left trigger to remove the ground without collecting it, and right trigger will gather the stone. And depending on what configuration you have of the wheels, you might have to fine-tune them a little bit with their steering angles, stuff like that. And the remote control, that you could go to your groups with your suspension, and you can increase and decrease the strength in them, depending on how much weight you're carrying to help optimize your traction. And also you can do that with the height offset of things too, if you need to give it some more height offset. The tires are a little tricky to get them like perfectly tuned, but they're all depend on how you build the tires on it with the steering angles and such. Now, as for the original one, I had on the back of the remote control here a ladder to climb up on it if you need that. And the other thing I add is the lighting. And under the spotlights, I really like these style spotlights. You can run, I think the original one had the angle ones pointing out like that. And this guy, like that, will give you anywhere you point the cab, give you some light in that direction. And then the last one, because you can't snap to this, what I did was use just a couple of half-slab light armor blocks. It really wasn't anything too beautiful. It was more utilitarian than anything. And then a forward-facing spotlight here. And you can adjust those accordingly, or put lights wherever you want it. Another thing you could do if you need to dig further out, you could, when you build the arms, just extend one or two more conveyance blocks out before you put the drills on it. It will let you reach further down if you needed to do something like that.
Like and subscribe. Thank you.